And we're back with part 2 of the timing chain replacement on the 2.5 liter Nissan Sentra SER. Last we left it, we had just gotten the old chain off, and now it's time to put everything back together, put it all in time, and the fun begins now. Check it out.
Holy crap, that thing stretched a bunch. I'm messing with you. This is the balance chain. Actually, it's not that bad, but it is a couple millimeters longer. And there you go. You can sort of see, I line the links up here on this end, link for link. But as you go down the line, you'll see how they slowly spread apart. And that's what I meant by they wear. At each link, they wear. And you can see that the old chain is slightly longer. And that slightly longer is just enough to be longer to cause a problem. So I do feel like I'm making a positive change to this engine by changing this timing chain. Car Part Kings hooked us up with this kit here. It's a 9-4212S timing kit, as I'm using on this 2.5 today. These are all the things that came with it. It came with obviously the new timing chain, the balance chain, a new tensioner that's all set up, new guides, new lower guide, new sprockets. It didn't come with the sprocket that's adjustable on this, which is fine, and that little plastic piece that goes in the top of that timing cover that I talked about. What's missing is those O-rings. I really wish it had those O-rings that go on the front timing cover and down underneath for the oil pan. I mean, you take all that stuff off of here to get to this point, but I digress. It also came with this instruction sheet, which honestly doesn't really show you much. I don't see much at all, because this just looks like we're not liable if you blow up your engine kind of thing. Okay, but this is what you get in the kit, and I'm also going to be replacing some sprockets. Obviously this lower one and this lower cover, which also has its own tensioner and everything set up down here. And that's what I'm going to be installing now. And then I will go up top, install my upper sprocket, because it's not just the chain that's going to wear. It will also be these sprockets that wear also. It's good to have those. Right now, we need these 3 things. Here we are at the lower balance assembly. There are 2 10s that hold this outer cover on and this tensioner. Why didn't you tell me I wasn't on that bolt? I can't see. Yeah, it would also have been nice if that sheet came with like the torque specs. That would be good info. Once again, this might come popping open. And the timing on this one is off. The other one up top was on, but once again, they're hunting gears, so they're not gonna come out exactly in the same spot every time. So far, these appear to be the same length. Yeah, they're the same length. Got my new parts laid on the rag to help prevent any dirt or anything from getting into them. Ew. There we are. Old balance assembly. Ew. Set that aside. It's useless to us now. I'm going to remove the timing chain. That should just come right off. Also, setting that to the side. And I know somebody's going to be curious about this. Eric, the other one was longer. What about that one? I don't think this one's as critical. It's just a balance deal. But just hang these like this, slightly, not a lot. We have a new sprocket. I'll just remove the old sprocket, and you can see how the teeth are a little worn. Slide this new one right up into place. Gotta make sure I get the keyway lined up. There we are. Now this has 2 links. One of these will be up. I'll show you once I get it on there and I've got it figured out. I'm not quite sure that that's the right way. Maybe go for the orange one up top. Also slightly off. Now, this is important, because to get this wrong would mean the possibility of a vibration. Okay, now I've moved this. I just took the crank, stuck it, or the crank pulley, stuck it on there, and made sure that the keyway was at 12 o'clock. This is where your timing marks would be. Orange one up here, yellow one down here. Here's the groove lined up with this one. You want this side to have all the tension on it. You want this side to have the slack because that's where the tensioner is. So with it like this, you're timed up. And now I can install this guy. I'm sure somebody's thinking torque spec. If I'm going to guess, there's not going to be a whole lot on these. Yeah, don't want to over tighten. Now I can remove the deal that was holding tension on it. And I think I can also remove this guy here. Lower part's done. Put that other chain on there. I got a new sprocket. I need to install it. Therefore, I need to remove the old sprocket. I got me an idea. Remember how I held that with a wrench? 24 millimeter wrench? I'm gonna go get that wrench. So having that valve cover off just got super handy. That is on there. It's like on there, like on there. Okay, that's probably the only way you're going to be able to do that. There we go. The new one, you can see how it's a little worn in comparison. I'm seeing something while I have this apart is I have better access to cleaning the gasket mating surface. There's not a whole lot to do here because it was done at the factory. So really, we just have little bits. I have a gasket cleaner here. Just have little bits to sort of get rid of. But I think it's real important to note that there's not so much goop on here that there's too much goop on here. There's just enough goop on here. Pretend like this stuff is made of gold. And the less you use, the more you can put back in your pocket. But you have to use just enough, or else it's not going to seal. So it's something of a delicate balance. Point being is don't go crazy with it. And it will be much easier to clean up later on down the road. I'm very grateful for whatever I suspect a Japanese worker put onto here. I'm actually very impressed with their skills. Of course, they also didn't have to do it when it was in the car. I'm just gonna take my rag and do the rest of the way. I'm not gonna use any kind of abrasives. I don't really feel the need. These are well machined surfaces. I think just a little bit of sealant in between them is going to fill the gap, give us what we need to keep the oil on the inside of the engine. In situations like this, it's just what we need. Now I'll put my sprocket on. I'm going to keep this wrench handy because it almost looks like I may have to move this cam a little bit to get things to line up correctly. There's a single pink link and two darker links up at the top. It should give you a clue as to how it goes on. So we want this pink one down on the crankshaft and these two up here go to the cams. I'm going to start down at the crankshaft and work my way up. This pink one needs to go right there. That one lined up fine. This one's also lined up. Okay, so all the links are positioned. Even though I've got this huge amount of slack right there, you can see my marks are lined up there and also over here. This is the most critical part of this job. Now I'm going to try to position the guides. The tensioner's in the back. So really, I kind of want my tension to be on this side. So that's where I'm going to start with. And I'm going to put the guide with the tensioner on last. This one here is going to go on first. Okay, so far that link's still on. That link back there is still on. We're still on the crank. That's exactly what I feared. I just can't get it to all stay in the same location. That one's on. That one's on. That one is also on. According to this, it's in time. I need to set the tension, and that was fiddly and honestly very frustrating in a lot of ways. But I've got the guides pretty much in place. I've got my tensioner ready to go into place, and there's still a fair amount of slack there, I realize that, but I'm gonna have to draw that slack up while I try and make sure that the cams stay in time. Wish me luck. I've got to bring this guide over this way, which just puts something on a time, I'm pretty sure of it. Maybe not. Is that one off a tooth? There we are. Just make one more check underneath to make sure that the crank is still on. It is. You're good. You're good. Let's get this tensioner into position. If I'm not mistaken, I think I did it. Just have to tighten everything down. That mark is lined up. That mark is lined up. That mark's lined up. The other marks were lined up before we got started. We may be in the home stretch now. This was like the last difficult thing we needed to get past. I will tighten these fasteners down and move on. I'm done being frustrated. Done. If you're wondering why I don't have a coat anymore, it's because my sleeves were getting caught on things while I was trying to reach down in to make these adjustments. It was frustrating. So again, working hard not to over tighten. Finish tightening these guides down. One last check of those timing marks before I pull the pin on the tensioner. Good, good, good. No turning back now. That is a very long thumbtack. As you can see, it's taking up most of the slack, and this tensioner also works on oil pressure, so even though we've got a little bit of slack up here right now, that will go away when the engine starts and oil pressure builds behind the tensioner. You can already see that it's not sticking out nearly as far as it was. It's not fully tensioned, but it certainly looks better than it did. Remember this little spacer? I do not want to forget that. So I'm going to put it on right now. It slides on the keyway and everything. Need to prep the timing cover now that everything's back in time and pretty much back together. It's time to get this cover back on, get this engine back together, fire it up, drive it away. You might say, Eric, take that thing over to the parts washer. Well, I would under normal circumstances. However, given that I don't have replacement rubber seals for this job, which I thought were coming with the kit, but they didn't, and it's too late now to get anything else, and I have to put this back together now. Yes, it's not ideal, but it is what it is. But that being said, if I put it in the parts washer, I would destroy those rubber seals. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do my best to get things cleaned up this way. Maybe a little bit of brake clean. And call it done. I'm going to worry about this lower one when it's back up on the car. Things will fall away instead of into the cover. That looks like a clean surface. I'm using Honda Bond for this. I've used it for this exact type of thing in the past. It's a very good sealer for this. It does take a while to cure though, but I think by the time we're done putting this all back together, it'll be good to go. I'm applying this to the cover because the cover has this groove. And this groove is what's gonna, well, hold the sealer in place, if you will. And it looks like I also need to apply a bit of sealer up in here, which I just noticed. There's another groove where the center bolt goes. Now it's just my hope that I'm actually able to get this up in there without disturbing too much of this Honda Bond. Not worried about it getting in the bolt holes so much because I think those do a little bit of sealing as well. There was sealant on the ends of them when I removed this. I just noticed something else. This here is the oil pump. Remember that thing we just put on the front of the crankshaft? How it's slotted? It's got to fit into this just right. So if you're having trouble getting this on, check here. That could be slightly off. I'm going to wipe that sealant off here in a second. Just want to get some of these fasteners started. I'm going to see if I can line up the bottom. I haven't tightened the top because I want to make sure the bottom is on the dowels. Now that I've got the cover down into place, I'm going to take these other fasteners, sort of put them in place on the lower part of the cover. And I got one more hiding around here somewhere, but there were 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. I'm going to run these down to hold the lower cover in place. I'll get it back up in the air and get to more of these. But for now, I'm just getting this in place, getting this on the dowels, getting the sealant squeezed out a little bit. And you know what? As long as I'm down here, Last thing I want to do is forget that pickup tube. I'm going to put that on now so I don't forget. This is the pickup, by the way. It scavenges the oil pan. I've gotten all these lower cover fasteners in place, and I'm just going to run them down so that the sealant can squeeze out between the cracks and that the lower part is attached. Figure I'll do it now, I won't forget later. Also, it'll help put just even pressure on the timing cover. Now I'm going to run these fasteners up top down. Now I'm going to clean up that other outer cover, install that, and we'll get that engine mount in place, and we'll be pretty darn close to being done. I dare say that this outer part has been off before. This might be a good way to, just removing this cover, look down inside to see where that tensioner is at. If it's overextended like the one that we had on this one was, then you can proceed. Once again, there are O-rings down inside of this that I do not want to damage as a result of putting it in the parts washer. So therefore, I'm not doing that. In, down, over, on, hopefully on. That's gotta go in there. Lining all those up. Nailed it. I laid these out in order. Underneath this solenoid, that's where the long one goes. There's a short one here and the long one goes right behind it. Forgot this, putting this in there. Haven't tightened any of the fasteners down yet. The stuff hasn't cured. It's not the end of the world, but it's a flipping mess. But I've got to put this in there or else that's a guaranteed rattle. If I'm good, yeah, I can just sneak it up in there. That isn't sneaking. There we go. I have to touch up a couple of spots with the sealer. Don't forget that. Take two. So this light is completely useless when it flips upside down and points the light at the body of the car. Just saying. And it keeps doing it. Here we go again. Here goes the light. I'm at that point. I like these because you're really not over tightening anything. You're just running it down. I'm just really growing to like these T-handles. Wasn't sure how to grasp it when I got them, but after I got them, I'm into it. Yeah, I know there's torque specs to all this. If you're not overzealous and you're just gentle, firm, but gentle, Should be fine. Kids, I think that means that that stuff is all reattached. So I'm going to put the engine mount back in, which would require this piece right here, which has its fasteners all ready to go. I'm grateful for the little breadcrumbs I leave myself from time to time. Brackets on there. Where be that engine mount? Oh yeah, this was tricky. One of these, long one of these, one of these, one of these, and some other third thing. 14's all of them. Honestly, if you're going to impact these down, always start with the nut. I did that backwards. Now I can get the pressure off of it. Now it's actually hanging by that engine mount again. It's a little sloppy. I'm leaving that coolant jug over there because I still want to do the water pump, but I say we move up underneath, take care of that oil pan. There's this nut that has to go up onto the lower part of this engine mount. It goes right there in front of the water pump pulley.
Welcome back. Yeah, we had a little cut there in between. It was getting kind of late. Brian was tired. I had to send him home, so we've decided to come back another day to wrap this thing up. We need to reinstall the oil pan, put all that stuff on. I'm also going to put a front seal on here before I install the crank. And I think what I'll do with this video is after we finish the timing chain stuff, I'm going to wrap this video up. I'm going to make another video with the water pump replacement and also the issues with the valve cover and the leaks and everything up there. So that'll be in a separate video. But I think timing chain information in this one is going to be good enough. I'm done talking. Let's get to cleaning these gasket surfaces and put this thing back together. I'm going to start by cleaning the mating surface where the oil pan will mate up to the engine block. There's still some residual junk that's there that I need to get off. I'm going to try to get rid of these little ringlets or whatever that are there so they don't get up in here because they can restrict the flow through there. So I want to make sure that all the big chunks are out. The small chunks, they'll get caught by the oil filter, but stuff like this, I'm going to try to give it every advantage. And then of course we'll do the same thing to the oil pan. And I'm not using any kind of air tools or anything on this. I could, but that will definitely turn all what's remaining here into a bunch of fine dust that will coat everything. I'd rather not do that. It's terribly exciting, I know. Watch as Eric the car guy cleans gaskets. Well, I think that about covers it. I'm gonna wipe it down with a rag, just like I did with the timing cover. It's virtually the same operation. It's just down here instead of up there. And it's okay that I didn't get every single bit of the sealant off. Remember, I'm not actually cleaning it for a gasket. The gasket is gonna be formed. So really, it's just a matter of keeping these mating surfaces straight and clean. This way the sealer will stick to it. Like I said, I believe clean enough is going to be good enough here. 2 parts to the oil pan here. Same deal. I'm just going to go and, I guess, peel off the large chunks that I can peel off. And clean the mating surfaces. both here and underneath for the other piece there. And this guy, once we get all the gasket material cleaned, we can take this over to the parts washer, do a little cleaning there. I'm leaving the oil filter on now. It's not a big deal. I'm going to change it out, but I'm just leaving it on there for the moment. I'll probably wait until it's back up on the car before I commit to truly changing it. Some people might ask what I use in my parts washer. Mineral spirits. No, I didn't get absolutely everything off of there as far as the sealer. I'll clean a little bit more off of here, but I'm not sweating it. It'll seal up fine. And all the gunk that was down inside here is all washed away. All that's still coming out of that oil filter. Yo. To the bench. Auto repair can be messy. That oil filter just keeps on giving. It's like, wait, I have more for you. I have so much more. Something Paul Cangialosi mentioned when he was here rebuilding my T5 transmission was overdoing RTV, especially in blind holes, meaning the hole doesn't go all the way through, like these right here. That is not a blind hole. So you can see my finger up through the back there. So this, it doesn't matter so much, but something like this that goes into the casting, if you get this filled up with sealant, it can cause a hydrostatic lock, and when it heats up, it expands, and it can actually crack the aluminum. So I can't stress enough how overdoing RTV in these situations is like one of the worst things you can do. So it's just enough. I mean, you got to think, these mating surfaces are made to be machined flat. So you're just filling up a space that's literally microscopic practically. So when you go about this, think of it that way. You're only filling a microscopic space. You're not frosting a cake. Now there's a just enough, and then there's way too much. And then there's also not enough, but that's rare. In fact, that's what all these little channels are for. It's to hold the sealant in place. I'm going to be repositioning the oil pan here, and the air conditioning compressor is right up against there. Now I hung it up top a little differently than I did initially, but I just want to get it a little bit more away. And just those few millimeters are just fine. I'm going to go around here, the gasket surface, one last time, make sure there's no oil or residual junk. Because if there's oil here, the sealer will not adhere to it. That's the whole point. The sealer repels oil. So I want to make sure we get rid of as much of it as we can. I have all of my fasteners sort of in position here and ready from when I removed them. I also have in my hand a 1/4 inch nut driver with 12 millimeter, which is what all these are. The whole reason for this bit of preparation is so that when I go to install the oil pan, I can just install the oil pan, start running in the fasteners, and away I go. I don't want to be fiddling around too much, so a little bit of preparation now is helpful. I'm also going to actually install the sealer while it's sitting over there on the bench, sort of use gravity to help me, so I can, instead of trying to put it on the bottom of the engine block, it's so much easier to put it on the oil pan and stick it up on there. And I'm just going down the middle in those channels because I know it'll fill that channel and then spread out from there. I know, right? The irony of me using Honda products on a Nissan. Still, this is good stuff. That tube is empty, but I made it. A little thick there, but I think I'll be all right. I'm gonna try to nail it. There are a couple of dowels up in here that can help guide me into position. I feel all right. I know it's not going to fall on my face now. There's two shorter ones. There's one in the back here, and then there's one up in the front here. And now for the rest of them. There are longer ones and shorter ones. The longer ones, I'm going to say, go up in this area. And there are 4 of these, I believe. There's 4 shorter ones. And at last, there are 2 10 millimeters that go up in the back. I'm going to run all these down hand tight. Now I've got them all in there. This way my RTV will have the opportunity to settle in. Now I would say, looking at the amount of fluid that ended up coming out after the fact, or the amount of sealer, that I might have had just a wee bit too much. A tad too much. More in some spots than others, but you know, I'm okay with that. You can see along the timing cover that's about that much that's coming out as well. This cover goes on the back, and these are the fasteners that hold the back part of that on there. I'm just gonna take this over the parts washer real quick, clean it up. I do like the smell of mineral spirits. Don't catch on fire now. The reason I'm messing with this now is because these fasteners hold the oil pan to the block, and I want to make sure that they go in okay. We have 2 long and 2 short. The long go up top, more metal to get through. Shorts down at the bottom. If this isn't all the way up on there, these wouldn't go up in here well. I had one more 10 millimeter that was left over that was with the oil pan stuff, and I'm like, where the heck did that go? And I found a fastener that was missing from the timing cover, so in fact it's up here. But I would wager that actually this fastener probably went down here, and I just took it off and didn't keep it with a timing cover. So I'm just gonna put it up in here where I believe it belongs. I hate mysteries like that where you got a fastener, you're like, where does this go? I try to keep everything together, but when there's a period of time between when I take it apart and when I put it back together, it's always a danger. All better. I'm going to snug up all the oil pan fasteners and get ready to install the next piece. I'm just using a 1/4-inch ratchet for this. Now these are bigger fasteners. I believe these are 8 millimeter. So there's less of a danger of breaking them. I'm certain there's a torque spec for this. I don't know it, but you know, after a while, you just get a feel for these things. And I know that sounds cheesy to say, but I can get pretty darn close. And I'm just going to run these down while I'm at it. Oh, I forgot that engine wasn't attached. Guess I'll need an actual socket for those. I got 1 tube left. Get these fasteners gathered up so they're easily accessible when I go to install it. A couple of fasteners handy. In fact, I'm just going to put one of them in my nut driver. To start with, drain plug faces the back if memory serves. Once you get 2 on there, you're home free. I'm gonna go in a crisscross. Hit one side, then the other. While I'm here, I'm thinking I'm going to put the oil filter on just to get it done and out of the way. AMSOIL hooked us up with the oil change and the oil filter for this. Now, because this engine is bone dry, and I mean bone dry, I'm going to do my best to put oil inside of this filter before I install it on the engine. That way it's sort of primed. And this is getting 5W30 as per what the oil cap says or what the manufacturer calls for. Now, I can't fill this up completely because I'm putting it on at sort of an angle, but I'm going to do my darndest. If I'm lucky, it will just unscrew. I'm lucky. I think most of it drained out. Most of it. You make sure that there is not another gasket there, because that will ruin your day. A little bit of cleaner. Let's get those brackets and exhaust and everything else reconnected. Gonna start by reattaching the AC compressor. I left all the fasteners sort of in place, so all I had to do is exactly what I'm doing now. There's still, the dipstick's got to go down right behind this. A little bit of silicone spray on the O-ring so that it goes in nicer. The opposite of what I did, bringing it in. Just one 12mm way up here on the block above the AC compressor. Now I'm going to reattach the power steering pump, and to do that, you sort of see up here there's a bracket that goes on either side. There's a boss in the back of the block. You got to put the bolt all the way through into the back there, and then the lower fastener goes through this lower bracket right here and just goes straight to the block. The lower fastener is just this little short one, and then there's a longer one for the top. I'm going to do the lower one first. That can hold it in place while I put the top one through. I've decided to disconnect the lower mount because I can't even see where this goes, and even if I was up top, I couldn't see either. But I can sort of see if I swing the bottom of the power steering pump out a little bit, I can sort of see where I'm headed, and sort of maybe good enough for right now. Still not helping. I'm gonna try these. Okay, that was tricky, but I had to do it that way. I had to start with the top one and then go to the back one. I'm gonna use a socket to get to the fastener so I can tighten it. You know, come to think of it, it would have possibly been easier to attempt this from back here rather than the way I was attempting it before. Rear engine mount. I put all the bolts where they live. I'm very glad I did that. It makes it so much easier. There it is. Gotta go up and over the axle. One fastener here, one more in the back. .14mm. Why work hard when you have power tools? We're so close. Need this bracket. Reconnect everything. Remember what I said about these rear connections here? How I'm going to put the through bolts through on this side rather than back them up against the exhaust, because I never understood that. I have all my fasteners at the ready. I'm thinking this is my front mount. And that'll probably go in first because that'll help hold this all into place. This mount looks fine. It's old, but it's fine. That's not going to work out that way. So plan B, so I'm just going to run these through. I'm just looking for something to hold this up like that. I'm going to put the nuts on. I think these that fasten it to the frame are all the same. Might do that through bolt yet, because I might be able to like push this back and run it in. See if we get this through bolt to do what it's supposed to. Hold the nut on one side and the next time Nissan, put them in that way, it'll make it easier. Gonna put the spring bolts in the exhaust. A little bit of lubrication on those before I run them in. Given that they are likely rusty, crusty, not happy things, I'm going to of course start them by hand. Viewers purchased a new seal, thanks to contributors of Fixing It Forward. So we're going to replace the front seal, at the very least. Just going to pry the old one out. My new one is slightly thicker. Cool. Same diameter and everything though. I'm going to take just a little bit of grease, put it on the inside of this before I install it. Never want to install seals dry. Just have some multi-purpose grease here. And this way when it fires up, it's not going to be dry. Just going to use my rubber hammer to install it until it's flush with the cover. Honestly, it would have been easier to do this when it was on the bench, but you know, stuff happens. I'm also going to put a little bit of oil on these threads. That's a 19. Yay! Engine's looking back together. Let's lower it down, and I think we're going to close this out. Well, viewers, I'm going to call it right here. I know we still have some more work to do on this engine, but this covers the timing chain replacement on this 2.5 liter Nissan engine in this 2003 Nissan SER. Anyhow, I want to give a special thanks to Car Part Kings for supplying us with a timing chain set, also AMSOIL for supplying us with the oil that we're going to be using, and especially viewers that donated to Fixing It Forward. You guys are awesome. So you also contributed to the parts that helped complete the repairs today. We're going to pick up the water pump and these other issues with the engine in another video, but as I said, we're going to close this one out here. Anyhow, if you have automotive questions, I'm going to ask you to head over to EricTheCarGuy.com and use the resources there to get help. Google+, Facebook, Twitter, also Instagram if you wish to connect with me socially. Close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, stay dirty, and I'll see you next time on the next episode of Fixing It Forward. Thanks for watching.